Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about dimensioning on a sheet layer. Now, I know that we haven't done anything in dimensioning just because lighting designers don't dimension things in the same way that set designers do. It's not a big a deal for us. We tend to rely on electricians' ability to use scale rules, or we'll provide dimension bars. But I will talk a little bit about dimensioning and specifically how it applies on sheet layers. So I am looking at my sheet layer on that we had created. This is sheet layer 1, right? And I have all these options, right? And let's even look at this one. Let's say that we don't want the masking here. Let's go to classes. We'll scroll down. I'll turn off all of my masking and I'll say, okay, now I'm going to have to update it. And poof, all of the masking goes away and I'm left with only the electrics and the pipes. But back to dimensioning, right? So if I wanted to dimension how far it is from this light to this light, we have a tool that will do that. And it's in your basic tool palette and it's near the bottom and it says a constrained linear dimension, right? This dimension tool. And this dimension tool is just going to go, from wherever you put it, it's going to measure. And that's the first point, and I'll go over and let's just say that I select that point. And now there's a third point, which is where I want that dimension line to be. And I can slide up or down or below, and I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to click here. And this says that this is 8 1/4 inches between this light and this light. 8 1/4 inches? That seems wrong. I drew that, and if I know that everything, all of these tick marks are 18 inches, how on earth am I going to be able to dimension this section of this drawing, right? Now that it's a viewport. Well, Vectorworks has thought of this and provided a tool, right? If I click on the viewport and now right-click on the viewport, instead of editing the crop, what I want to do is edit annotations, right? So I'm going to say edit annotations, and this allows me to be able to add text and information to the viewport and based on the viewport's original scale. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put in a little text, and I'm going to say that this is an exploded view because it's bigger, right? We made this at 1 inch. Now my text is stupid small, so why don't we go ahead and make it a little bigger? How about 28, right? So I can change, and maybe I'll make it bold so that we can see what's going on. I might even change its position. We'll put it down here at the bottom. An exploded view for that viewport. Now, back to our dimensioning problem. Now what I want to do is I want to measure this same thing, right? Let's use our dimension, and I come down here. I'm going to pick that point as my first point, pick my second point here, and now I'm going to just determine where it goes. And look, it's measured this in scale, right? We have now actually measured this at 8 feet 3 inches, right? Which is now in scale. Which is the actual distance that it was drawn on our design layer. Once we're done measuring, here, let's go in and measure between these two tick marks. Let's go between here and here. I'll pull down, and it says that's 1 foot 6 inches. See, this measurement is now correct. Let's exit our viewport annotation. All of that information is now included in our viewport. Let's look what happens if we were to move our viewport. Remember, we can move our frame around our page. Look, all of the text and dimensioning information that I did in my annotation remains in my viewport. Anything that I have drawn extra on top of the viewport, whether that's a dimension or text or anything like that, remains in place. This is something that I just drew on my piece of paper. This is actually a viewport that I have now edited. None of this text or dimensioning information appear anywhere else. They're not on my design layer. The only place that they exist is within this viewport, right? So that information is only in this viewport. So I'm going to delete that information because it's useless, right? And I'm going to put my viewport back up on my page, right? And this information, that measurement, none of that is anywhere on my design layer. It is only on my piece of paper, right? That measurement's not there. Let's go to top plan view and I'll prove it to you, right? There's none of that information that's there. It's only on the sheet layer. So that's a little bit about dimensioning. And dimensioning within a viewport, you can see it's not within this viewport, right? It only exists here, right? So, and if you need to edit that, again, you just select the viewport, right? And that is edit annotations. I'll show you another little bit about editing annotations. Edit annotations, right? Do I need to do it within this? No, that was text. That's everything. Let's exit that. We can give it a title, right? And we can give it a name, and I think we can show that background information. And I think we're good. Let's just go ahead and stop this video at this point, and we'll talk more soon.